I walk to most places because, being severely visually impaired, obviously I can't drive. I walk at night during the summer, which lasts anywhere from April to October if we're lucky in my area. This is probably not the safest idea, but I'm from Texas, so temperatures of 100 degrees aren't unusual. One of my usual destinations was a convenience store a few blocks from my previous home. I set out one night to get myself some Pepsi and a candy bar. Our town isn't very big, and most people drive everywhere. It's very unusual to come across anyone else on my route to the store, but that night, a man appeared out of nowhere and started talking like he knew me. He asked me where I was going, and I told him, for some reason. It wasn't unusual for people to keep watch on me because hard-of-hearing blind girl with forearm crutches kind of stands out. This guy had no reason to be there and was walking way too close beside me. He asked me where I was going again, and I told him again, just in case I was overreacting. I sped up as much as I could since this part of the route is very dark, with only a subway that had closed for the night. He definitely wasn't there for a $5 footlong. I tried to appear calm, but the alarm bells were ringing, and I was shaking to the point I was afraid I'd drop a crutch, which was probably the worst thing that could happen right then, especially after he started asking what I liked in the bedroom, and he could easily have his way with me in the ditch, and no one would know. I felt sick, but continued my walk. The store was only about 20 yards away, and I knew the guy that was on the graveyard shift fairly well. I got safely inside, and my friend handed me a bag to carry my stuff in until I was ready to check out. And when I got up to the register, he began speaking loudly enough to hurt my ears as my hearing aids were too high. I had to turn them down for a bit for him to say, "Hey sweets, did you ever find my 3DS?" I played along, and he opened the half-door thing next to the counter, and I sat on the stool like it was normal. A creepy dude came over and slammed his Bud Light and $10 on the counter. After being handed his change, he went outside. "He's still out there by the ice machine," my friend said. After about 20 minutes, he still hadn't left. My friend called his manager, and after explaining the situation, she told him to lock up, run me home. He did, and even walked me up to my door. I took out the key and stepped inside. "Catherine, my boss said to give you this." He handed a keychain and showed me how to unlock the pepper spray. "Call us before you come on from now on. He's come in after you and asked for the last 4 weeks." My friend left, and I made sure every door and window was locked. So creepy dude, let's not meet again. It all started in high school. I was a naive, shy, and awkward 14-year-old when I asked this one guy to our school's Sadie Hawkins dance. I knew him from a mutual friend of ours, but we really didn't talk. All I knew was that he both liked anime and manga, and that he was kind of quiet most of the time. So I wanted to be nice, and I asked him out to the dance. That was mistake number 1. That started the years of torment. He said yes, and we agreed that we would just meet at the dance and the rest of our friends. A few hours later, I get a message on Facebook from him, and it's a long message telling me that he always had a crush on me, that I was beautiful, and he couldn't compare my beauty to anything else, because he was considered that an insult of how beautiful I was. It was pretty cringy, but at the end of it, he asked if I would be his girlfriend. I was uncomfortable after reading the entire message, but again, being the shy and awkward 14-year-old that I was, I told him yes. Mistake number 2. He was ecstatic. He asked me to call him that night and asked for my phone number, and I gave it to him. Mistake number 3. He calls me later that night, and I learned a lot of things that I did not want to know about him. One of the major things is that this guy was a massive crybaby. I'm not trying to say that men that cry are weak, but this guy would cry at everything, and would always play the victim. Felt like all his friends didn't like him? Cry. No other girl than me would love him? Cry. Teacher failed on all of his assignments, even though he openly admitted he didn't want to do any of the work? Cry. The list goes on, but I'll get some more later. I also learned that night that he had a foot fetish, and now that I was his girlfriend, he was going to do so many things to my feet. Again, not trying to shame anyone, but as a 14-year-old who didn't like showing off any part of my body, I was uncomfortable. And when I went silent for a little bit, you can guess what he did. He cried because he thought that I thought he was a freak. His words, not mine. I told him no, I didn't think that. Though, I had to be honest, I was starting to. He instantly cheered up. He continued to call me every night, and the conversations usually were the same as the first night. He called until the night of the dance. At the dance he mentioned he'd never had his first kiss, and how sad it was. I'd already had mine at this point, and I'm glad he wasn't it. I kissed him at the dance though, just to get it over with. However, throughout the night, he would try to kiss me even more, and even tried shoving his tongue into my mouth. It got so bad that a teacher had to pull us apart. Of course, he goes off to sulk and cry, but after the dance, I get a text from him saying how magical I made the night for him, that the kiss was delicious, not exaggerating on the terms there, and how the stupid teacher didn't understand our love. Again, no exaggerations. I was feeling pretty sick to my stomach at this point, and wanted to break up with this guy, but I stayed a little bit longer. Mistake number 4. 2 days later, he asked me out on a date to the movies. Stupidly, I said yes, and he asked if one of his best friends could come, and if I could bring one of my best friends, since his friend found her attractive and wanted her to be his girlfriend. I told both of them no, because he wasn't her type, and honestly, she hated him. They keep pushing me to bring her, but I kept telling them that I don't know his best friend, and they don't know her, and his best friend calls me a killjoy cunt. And he did his usual thing of crying because he didn't get what he wanted. We go to the Lorax that night, and his friend sits behind us. The second the lights go out, he turns my head and starts kissing me and pushing his tongue into my mouth. I tried to push him away because I thought I was not going to let him do this to me the entire movie. Again, his friend is right behind us, and he keeps trying to kiss me. Movie ends, and when I get home, he sends me a text saying he was depressed, and that a picture of my feet would make him feel better. I told him no, and he threatened to kill himself, and it would be all my fault because I didn't send him a photo. Horrified at how fast he snapped, I sent him a photo real quick. Next night, he asked if I had been naughty lately. Knowing where this is leading to, I told him no. He then starts crying about how I was cheating on him and that I had been naughty and with other people, and again, he threatened to kill himself. I tried to calm him down by telling him that I was a virgin and I was not a sexual person at all. He suddenly, as if on a dime, stops his fit and asked me if we could just completely forget about what just happened. I tried telling him that what he did was incredibly inappropriate and was about to tell him again to leave me alone, but he pulls the victim card again and starts crying. During the crying, he asked for another picture of my feet to calm him down, scared he was going to snap again if I sent him another picture. This continued for a few more days until he would try and message me whenever I was busy. Examples at school, babysitting, volunteer work, etc. Accuse me of cheating, tell him what was going on, him saying sorry and playing the victim, and eventually again asking for pictures of my feet to calm him down. I eventually had enough, and after 2 weeks of dating him, broke off the relationship. He cried, of course, and begged that we at least stayed friends. School year was ending, and he said he was transferring to a new school, so I figured I would never see him again. Boy, was I wrong. Beginning of the school year, he would message me, and when I didn't respond, cry and threaten to kill himself. After a while, I just started to ignore the messages and threatened to call the police if he didn't stop messaging me. Thought he would have stopped after that, right? Wrong again. Every year until I turned 21, he would message me random things at random times. Here's some examples. Hey, my friend. We're friends, right? Hey, can you send me a picture of your feet? I miss you. I'll leave you alone if you want me to. I'm pathetic, aren't I? And so much more, and each time I ignored him and finally blocked him on every platform he tried to contact me on. Fast forward to 21. I'm in college, a ways away from my town, and from him, and I have a boyfriend. I get a notification from Instagram saying he started following my profile. I quickly block him, and not even 5 minutes later, I get a message from Facebook from a random profile I don't know. The message read, "Why did you block me on Instagram?" I lost it. I sent him a long message telling him if he contacted me again in any way, shape, or form, I'd get a restraining order, and told him how damaging that would be against his reputation and his future career. Again, he played the victim and told me that he couldn't believe he fell for a liberal bitch like me and to never contact him again. Never heard from him again after that, and good riddance. A few months later, I get a message from a girl who used to date him as well. She told me he used to threaten to kill himself and cry if she ever told him no, or if she ever decided to leave him. Again, sorry for this long post. There are more details to the story, but I feel this has gone on long enough. Long enough. This is going to be long, so I apologize in advance. But it was creepy as all hell. I was at the local grocery store I visit weekly to shop for food. I normally spend $100 to $200 a week on food for myself and my family, so I always leave with a full cart. I'm standing in the checkout line, minding my business, when a tall man, I'd guess early 40s, approached me and complimented my hair. "Your hair is gorgeous!" loud enough for everyone within a 20-foot radius to hear. Now, I appreciate a compliment as much as the next girl, but it was a little obnoxious, to say the least. I thanked him politely and redirected my attention to the cart where I awkwardly started organizing the items, in hope that the 15 pairs of eyes now staring in my direction would look elsewhere. Unfortunately, Loudmouth didn't take the hint. He started asking rapid-fire questions, saying statements, barely pausing for me to get a word in edgewise before the next sentence would spill out of his mouth. This is when it gets really awkward, as if it wasn't weird enough. He asks if I want to go out with him sometime, maybe tonight, after I put my groceries away. He could, and I quote, "come to my house and help me put them away, and then we could leave from there." I told him I didn't think my husband would appreciate that, and he got angry. I was freaked out at this point, and everyone was still staring. After I rejected his offer, his mood changed so fast it was like a light switch got flipped, and the compliments turned into nasty insults and curses. Mind you, this guy didn't have a card or anything in his hand to buy. He was just standing off to the side, kind of leaning on one of the drink refrigerators. Thankfully, a gentleman who was in an aisle within my sight, who presumably heard the whole thing, came up behind us and asked him if he was in line. Loudmouth said no. Gentleman promptly told him he was being inappropriate, loud, and needed to buzz off. To my surprise, Loudmouth stepped aside, and with one final insult, stomped out of the store. I thanked the gentleman, and we continued waiting in line, me with an entire week of groceries, and him with a bottle of Gatorade. I offered to let him go in front of me, and he declined, saying he wasn't in a rush. It was really nice, and like one of those scenes in the movie where the nice guy saves the girl from the jackass. Even so, I was afraid Loudmouth would be waiting outside, so I asked the cashier to call one of her coworkers to walk me to my car. Gentleman insisted that he would be happy to escort me to my car, and I accepted. But as I stood there, watching the cashier ring my items, I was overcome by this sick feeling, like I was going to vomit everywhere. I decided it was just my nerves, and that I have issues with anxiety, and this reaction is pretty normal. It typically passes within a few minutes once I mentally talk myself down. But for fear of further embarrassment, this time in the form of projectile vomiting in the middle of a grocery store, I hurriedly paid and took a seat on a bench close by. I told the gentleman, never mind, and that I was a little freaked out, so I was going to call my husband to come pick me up instead. We'd get the car later. I didn't care, I just wanted to make it home in one piece. He told me to have a nice day and walked out the door. And hand to God, as soon as he walked out of the building, I felt normal again. So still blaming my anxiety, I felt sort of silly, but I'd already called my husband, so I stood up and pushed my cart over to the window to watch for my ride, just in time to see a junky white SUV drive by, with the gentleman in the passenger seat and Loudmouth in the driver's seat. To preface this, I'm going to give some backstory about myself. I'm a sophomore in high school, and just recently moved. So last October or so, I got really bored and decided, hey, I'm going to go mess with people on Tinder. Not like catfishing or anything, more so using stupid pickup lines, etc. All was going well. I got a couple of laughs, and then some person added me and started making very, well, let's just say, suggestive comments. To this I decided I would clown on them and mess with them, because they were very persistent, and that was a big mistake on my part. My second big mistake was giving them my Instagram handle. I figured, since I had no post or anything, it was no big deal. But this person was able to get more info than I would have preferred from it. After this, they became much more aggressive. Like, way more aggressive. Threats ranging from rape to killing me. I was incredibly naive at the time and didn't think to block the person because, well, I was having a bit too much fun with it. Clowning on them and baiting them with my friends was fairly entertaining. Eventually, it came to my attention that they were an alum of my high school. I also found out that they weren't who they said they were, and that it was actually a gay black dude from OU, instead of some random basic white chick. Because he was an alum, I decided to ask around about some seniors, and then I knew to try to get some info on him. I learned a lot, and my biggest takeaway was that I was messing with the wrong person. Apparently his threats weren't as empty as I had thought, and then he would do everything in his power to ruin my life if I blocked him. But I blocked him anyway, and all was good until about a year later. It's August now, and all of a sudden he keeps popping back up. He's made new accounts and re-adds me on all of them multiple times, and I'm not sure what to do. His harassment will not stop, and I just want this to stop. Almost once a week, a new account will add my Insta or Snap and send messages saying, "Why did you block me? You're going to regret that." I will not stop, and I don't know what to do. Please, I keep blocking the accounts, and I need help. Someone give me some advice. Hi, my name is Aria. I just turned 20 in April. This happened in September of 2018. My ex, Christopher, scares the hell out of me. He's a narcissist and a very dangerous person. Well, little backstory. Christopher and I were friends since we were babies. We lived right next door to each other. I don't remember who moved first, but one of us moved and we lost contact. It wasn't until late January, early February of 2018 that we reconnected. Well, we started dating in late February, early March. Everything was good for 2 months. Then I started thinking about breaking up with him. I didn't, though. My mom moved to where I currently live now. Christopher and I moved in with my father. I started cheating on him with my ex-fiancée because I was too terrified to leave. He found out, broke up with me, and we got back together the next morning. I'll save the details. I was still cheating on him. Come August, this psycho attempted suicide because I finally grew a pair and left him. We were still talking. Well, September comes around, and Christopher ruins any chance I could have had with my ex-fiancée. That was the last straw. I blocked him on everything. He kept making new Facebook accounts and messaging me. Finally, I had enough and threatened a restraining order on him. He didn't let up. I filled a police report and got the temporary order the same day. He hadn't gotten served yet and was avoiding it, so they had to serve him on the phone. After he was served, he tried to break into my mother's house and tried to kill me. Luckily, I wasn't home and he failed. March of this year comes around and I finally got the letter about the actual order. It's valid until November of 2021. Thank God I'll be married and hopefully out of the state by that time. Pray for me. He's still attempting. I'm a female and I'm 19 years old from the UK. Me and my friend have been harassed by this girl that used to be my friend for around a year. I apologize that this is a little long. A little backstory. Me and this girl, let's call her Jane, met when we were in primary school and we were all around the same age of 10. As we grew older, together I realized that this girl had had some problems. She got into trouble a lot and we lost contact as we left primary school and entered secondary school. It wasn't until college that we got back into contact. I straight up knew from then on that this girl had serious behavioral issues. She would tell me that she would get into arguments with her mother and ask to stay at my place. She would constantly ask from me to stay at hers. When we were out in public, she would shout offensive things to other people, which was understandably embarrassing for me. Years went on, and I am now 19, and she only got worse. She would begin to lie to get attention, and lie about the most horrible and disgusting things which I would believe, until I obviously found out from her mother that she was a liar. For example, she said she was pregnant, and when she asked for proof by friends and family, she would say then that she had a miscarriage. She once lied about her ex-boyfriend raping her, but then when asked to report it to the police, she said things that didn't happen like that, and she didn't need to. For example, she said she was pregnant, and when she asked for proof by friends and family, she would then say that she had a miscarriage, and once lied about her boyfriend raping her, but then when asked to report it to the police, she said things didn't happen like that and she didn't need to, because it never happened. She would continue to say things like that all the time. It was horrible, and I didn't want to associate with her anymore. Not long before I blocked her out of my life, she began to become possessive and nasty towards me. If I didn't want to meet up, she would try to guilt trip me into meeting her. If I said I wasn't meeting another friend, instead, she would get jealous and turn nasty. Not only that, she would make things up in her head that I apparently had said to her. For example, it was my dad's birthday in March. She lives nearby. I get a message when I'm with him saying, "Can I meet you?" I said no, I'm with my dad for his birthday, and it would be rude to just leave. She then said, "You promised you would meet me," which I never did say that at all. She said, "Yes, you did. Why would you lie to me?" And I said I can never lie about something I never said. She said I wasn't being a good friend and said to come outside and stop acting like this. She would ring me nearly 10 times in a row sometimes if I didn't reply. I'd had just enough. So I blocked her. Blocked her on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp, her phone number, and that was her around a week. I got another friend request for another account under her name. I declined and blocked. I then received another a few days later, among the message saying, "Hi." I blocked that account too. A week later, I checked my Facebook and had a notification saying, "Jane liked your photo." I clicked it, and obviously it was her. But she didn't add me on this one this time, so I blocked her before she could. I got another 2 friend requests after that, and a few messages saying hello, add me back, please, why aren't you speaking to me? I blocked that account, and then she went to Instagram. She made 3 new ones trying to message me and followed me on my account, liking pictures of my boyfriend and I. She then began following him, even though she hasn't even met him and spoke to him only once. She finally tried to add me on Snapchat, which I obviously declined. The final straw is when she went to a social club where my father normally goes with his friends, asking him where I was and why I wasn't speaking to her, and asking if I was there with him. This totally freaked me out. This was only a week ago. I hope she gives up soon, but from all the signs, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.